Okay, hello everybody, and welcome to another tutorial here on Flight Simulator X here on the Soren channel. And what I'm going to do for you is I'm going to show you how to fly a 757-200, which is the equipment I'm using right now. This is actually a Quality Wings 757, and so I'm not going to go from cold and dark. I'm just going to kind of show you how I'm going to set up the cockpit, and then I'm also going to set up the flight management computer for our trip. We're going to be using the LNAV and VNAV autopilot features, and so I'm just going to show you how to start off. I've actually already set my auto brakes right here from off to RTO, which is rejected takeoff status. Basically all that means is if you all of a sudden had to stop real quick before you take off, and you bring the throttle down to idle, it will automatically stop using the maximum amount of brakes possible. We're also going to set our flaps to 15 because takeoff, that's the takeoff flaps for the 757. Now, we don't need to set up our heading or speed or anything. That's all going to be done through the VNAV, through the flight management computer. This particular flight, we're going to be flying from LaGuardia Airport in New York City to Atlanta Hartsfield, which is, so it's Kilo Lima Golf Alpha to Kilo Alpha Tango Lima. And it's going to be like an afternoon flight, so it may end up actually being like nighttime by the time we get to Atlanta. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to set this, our cruising altitude is at flight level 360. Now, I actually fly for a virtual airline, which I would definitely recommend doing if you're a flight sim enthusiast. And this particular plane is really good for doing those flights. And also, it has the flight management computer, which we're going to go over here in just a second. Just going to turn on our checklist, make sure that's all set on the Quality Wings menu. And what I like to do is just to show you guys so you're able to see it a little bit better, I'm going to adjust these displays a little bit so that, and put them off to the side so you can see them just a little bit better. And because I'll be flying the majority of the flight, I'll fly in the F9 view or the virtual cockpit view. This is the 2D cockpit right now. It's just a little easier to show you guys how to set everything up using this. So first of all, we're going to make sure our flight director is on and the auto throttle is set to arm. We've already taken care of our flaps, and we've already taken care of our auto brakes. Now I'm going to pull up the flight management computer. I don't know why this always happens. It kind of like shows up, there we go, like a little fuzzy at first. Just have to adjust it a little bit. So this is the flight management computer, or FMC as I'll refer to it throughout the rest of this video. My first video here is going to be setting up the FMC, setting up the cockpit, pushback from the gate, and taxiing to the runway, taking off, and leveling off at cruising altitude. And then it's about a 2-hour flight from LaGuardia to Atlanta, so once we're leveled off at cruising altitude, I'll actually shut off the video, and then once we're right near the top of the descent into Atlanta, I will go ahead and start the video again to show you guys how I approach Atlanta and land and do all that stuff. So first of all, we're going to start off with a hit init ref right here, initial reference index, and that brings up this menu right here. And in flight plans, now a lot of people like to play flight sim, and you just do like a GPS direct route as far as your flight planner is concerned. If you do that and you click on load ATC route, it will load whatever you put into the default flight planner on flight sim. It will load that into the FMC, so you can still use LNAV to fly. You know, making sure you're going to follow the correct path and everything. So we're going to switch this. I just pulled up the EFIS menu, EFIS. As you can see, it's changing things down below on this EFIS display. And we're going to switch it to plan for now because we're actually going to take a look at how to set this up and this will come into play in just a moment. So first of all, we're not going to use the load ATC route. What I like to do is I actually like to fly the exact route that my my virtual airline gives me. There's also a few different ways that you can get routes to plan out. You can go to, I think it's simroute.net, or it might be .com, simroute.com. And also you can download VRoute, which is it's an application that you can put on your desktop, and you can actually look up flight plans typically used by airlines and be able to load them in. But what we're going to do right now, click on flight plans. You can see I've already got a bunch in here. I don't have a KLGA to KATL in here yet, so we're going to do a new flight plan. So we're going to start off by entering our origin airport and our destination airport. So we're going to use the alphanumeric keys here to type that in. So we're at Kilo Lima Golf Alpha. That's our origin. And then our destination is Kilo Alpha Tango Lima. And put that into destination. So I'm using these keys here on the side, and once you type something in, you can click on the side keys and that will enter it into that field. Now I'm not exactly sure which runway they want us to use. I did download the real world weather in here. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to kind of cheat, and I'm just going to request a taxi for a VFR departure from LaGuardia ground, and they're going to give me whatever the active runway is right now. And this is also a little trick too. It's actually going to give you the directions to that runway. So they're using runway 04 right now. I'm going to acknowledge the taxi clearance. I'm not going to be using air traffic, the AI air traffic control in this video. I just did that just as a little bit of a trick so that I can use the progressive taxi and get us to our, let's see here, our runway. So you can see the progressive taxi is on the ground, and that's going to help me navigate to runway 04, which is actually going in that to the left of this shot right here. So I fly for VDelta. If you go to vdelta.org, you can apply to be on or part of the virtual airline, and it's really a lot of fun. Actually, right now what we're going to do is we're going to turn on our panel lights, which illuminates the panels themselves. And we're going to go back to this view. We're going to pull up our overhead real quick as well, if it comes up. Hello. There it is. And I'm going to turn on our no smoking sign, our seatbelt sign. I'm going to turn our taxi lights on, our overhead light, all of our positional lights, logo light, all that fun stuff. Cold and dark start from this area can be a little confusing, so it's a little easier to not have to bother with that. So we're going to be taking off from 04. So we type in 04 and put that into the runway. So as you can see already on the EFIS display, they've already started our route towards ATL. But as you can see, there's 2 pages here available for the route page. So you click on next page, and this is where we're going to type in the route. Now it's a pretty simple route, but it's going to give me the ability to show you guys exactly how to type in a route and where everything, all the information goes. So you've got a via side and a to side. Now, whenever you're putting in directions to an airport, it's either going to be through a VOR or an NDB, and it's either going to be direct to that, or you're going to have to use a jetway or something else to get yourself there. So what we're going to start out doing, this one actually starts out going direct to an intersection, which is all your intersections, NDBs, and VORs go over here on the right side. So the first intersection is Lima Alpha November Alpha. And type that in, put that in there. Now if this ever comes up where there's more than one intersection with the same name, it's always going to give you, the first one is always going to be the one that's closest to you. Now obviously we're on the northern latitude and western longitude, so this is going to be our closest intersection right here. So direct to Lana. And then the next thing is we're going to be using an airway, Juliet 48. And this is where you put the airway on the left-hand side. So now you're going to be going directly to Lana. or Lana, however you want to say that. Then you're going to be utilizing Juliet 48 airway to get to, now this is a VOR that I'm typing in, Mike, Oscar, Lima. So direct to that, or not direct, we're going to use the Juliet 48 airway. And then that's it. Actually, from there it's directly to the KATL airport. So we're going to click on activate, and we're going to click execute, and now that has executed that route. Now another thing, I'm also going to eventually be showing you guys how to fly using VATSIM, which is virtual air traffic simulator. And you know, you may or may not be aware of how to do that, but you need to know how to fly SIDs and stars. Now SIDs are standard departures and stars are standard arrivals. The cool thing about the 757 is it's already programmed into this computer, all of the SIDs and stars for the various airports. So when you click on departure arrival button right here, it's going to give you this screen here where you can choose your departures and your arrivals. Now we're going to be taking off from runway 4, so what we're going to do is we're going to click on 4, and you can see there's only one SID available for runway 4, and that's Lima Golf Alpha 2. So we'll click on that, and you can see it selected both of them, and then you click on execute. And now if you go to the legs page, it will show you on here your route, and also it says step right here. That's why I'm in the plan view on the EFIS. And you can click on step, and it's going to bring you one step at a time all the way through. You can see on the bottom left of the screen, it's bringing you through all of the various intersections and things of that nature to get you to your destination. You can see the malls in there. I didn't type in any of these other ones. Those are just your like that's Juliet 48 will bring you on all of these courses to your destination. So TR044 is the first one, and we'll zoom in. Well, actually, that's as zoomed in as it gets, but we'll take out the other stuff. You can see basically we'll depart straight out, and then we're going to take a sharp left turn and start heading in our direction towards Lana, which is right here, which we'll eventually go direct to. Now, before we go into our arrival star information, I'm going to go back into the initial reference page. This is the performance initialization page. Now, I always just type in 2.5 for my reserves and 8.5 for cost index. Now, cost index is basically your airline will give you a cost index sometimes to fly your flight, but this one is just kind of a generic one that I always use. And then our cruising altitude is going to be 360. So I'm going to type in 360. You can type out 36,000 feet, and it will automatically put it in as flight level 360. And then you always want to click execute after you type in that information. Now what that's going to do is it's going to give our VNAV information. What is in front of me, in front of the screen here? Am I moving? That was really strange. I don't know why the graphics started moving. That was kind of weird looking. Yeah, see, it's still moving. That's really strange. Huh. Oh well, let's go back to this view. Is this view correct? Yeah. Huh. Well, oh well. Don't need to really worry about this view anyways. We're going to be doing the majority of our flight in the other view. Go to our takeoff reference page. You can see our pre-flight information is complete. Acceleration height is 1,000 feet, flaps 15, V1 is 142 knots, rotation speed is 148 knots, V2 is our 154, and we'll go over that in just a moment. But let's go back to our departure arrival information, and we'll click on. Now I already looked up the weather at Atlanta, and my airline wants me to use the Falcon 3 stars, which is our arrival into Atlanta, and we're going to be using ILS 09 left approach. So once you click on 09 left, you can see it narrows down all the different stars available. Now if you were flying on VATSIM, you would be given this information from the air traffic controller. and then you type it into your FMC, it'll automatically be in there. So there is a transition for this star at MOL, M-O-L, Mike Oscar Lima, but we already have MOL as one of our destinations in our route, or one of our waypoints in our route. So we're not going to type that one in, but if you didn't have MOL in there, you could select it here, and it would automatically put it in there for you. But we're going to use the Falcon 3 star, and we're using a 09 left ILS approach into Atlanta. So once you select those two and you activate it, you're going to go back into your legs, and you're going to see that's going to now be in there. Now this tends to happen almost every time you type in something. You can see right here at the bottom of the page, there's a blank spot, and if you go to the next page, you can see it says route discontinuity. All you do to get rid of that is click on the one that's next, which is Oscar Delta Foxtrot. Go back up to the spot where you want to put it in, and you can see it's already typed into the little information display here, and then hit execute, and that's going to remove that discontinuity, and now it's all straight through to the Falcon star. So we're going to start. I'll show you one more time, and I'll back it out a little bit here. You can see my star is going to bring me down and around the airport, and we'll go all the way from the beginning again just to show you guys. Just keep hitting step through each step, and it will show you on the EFIS display where each step is. So the first one is, you leave depart LaGuardia. We'll hit that TR044 intersection, and we'll take an immediate left turn heading straight towards Lana. We're going to PTW, Bird intersection, Hagen intersection, Pensy intersection, EMI, CSN, MOL, ODF, and then we're on our Falcon star. So we'll start with the Falcon intersection, followed by the Dirty intersection, Birds intersection, Cosell intersection, Wharf intersection, and you can see down here on the bottom left, this is Atlanta right here. And if we were coming in on the opposite direction, the star would be different. It would put us so that we would line up eventually with, in this case it's runway 27 right or 27 left. But in this case we're going to be landing on 09 left, so it's going to bring us around the airport, and then it's going to get us lined up for our ILS arrival. Now you can also see there's information on the pages here on each one. It's going to show you if there's any altitude restrictions, what your altitude will most likely be when you get to that location. If you stick with your strict VNAV and you keep your altitude at those levels, it will level off and cross over those intersections at that altitude. But what we're going to do is we're just flying a straight up LNAV VNAV flight, so we're not going to have to bother changing our altitude up. We're not even using air traffic control, so that's not something that we're going to be too concerned with. And that's it. So our route is typed into here. Now I know I'm going to click on the VNAV button right here. This is where you can adjust your speeds, and if there's any altitude restrictions, you can see under 10,000 feet, I want it to be 250 knots or below. Our transition altitude for barometric pressure is 18,000. So that's all going to stay that way. Once we cross over 10,000, it's actually going to increase us up to our selected speed of 319 knots, or a Mach speed of 0.81. If we hit next page, our cruising altitude is in here at flight level 360. It also shows us our wind, which is pretty calm. And our target speed at this point is listed at 319.81. Now I know this aircraft can actually handle slightly faster, so you're just going to type in, and you can always type in any of this information into your display, and then you just click on that and it's going to update it, and click execute. So now we're going to be a little bit faster when we're at cruising altitude, just make everything go by faster. So that's it. We're already all set. The progress page here is where we're going to pretty much have, we're pretty much going to keep it on there once we're in the air. And we're all set to go. So we're going to hit Shift P to start our pushback from the gate. I do apologize for it being a little glitchy. That's because I'm utilizing a program to record the screen, and it sometimes makes it a little choppy. So to make it a little easier for you guys to see too while we're in the cockpit, I'm going to pull these up again on the left. But otherwise, we're all set to go. Once we lift off, we're going to hit the LNAV button and the VNAV button, and then we're going to hit our left autopilot engage switch, and that will take over. Now we may have to, because it's a very short amount of time after takeoff and there's such a huge left turn, we may, in fact, I'm going to set it up already, put it in there already. I'm going to change our heading. Oh yeah, pull up the EFIS page again too, put it back to map, and now it's going to be aircraft oriented information. So once we take off from 04, we may need to utilize our heading selector knob here to get us on an intercept heading for our path of travel, which is that dark purple line. The one that's moving right now, the dashed purple line, is our heading indicator. So I'm just going to put that in the direction of our travel, just in case we need to utilize that at all. So we've already pushed back. I'm going to release the parking brakes and give it a little bit of throttle. And we're going to turn to the right so that we can... I'm actually going to also pull this up so that we can monitor how fast we're going. And now we're going to start taxiing to 04. Now while we're taxiing here, just to let you guys know, I'm using just keyboard controls. So that's why you can see my yoke moving back and forth. Obviously in a real aircraft, you're not going to be moving that yoke back and forth. You steer with your pedals, but because I have auto rudder turned on, that's what happens. When you go left or right, the rudder automatically turns for you. So I'm actually going to bring down our throttle just a little bit. Oh yeah, I can see it's going to be a little glitchy for this trip, but that's okay. You can see the New York, some of the New York skyline in the background. I did turn off some of the graphics just so that it wouldn't be too choppy, but we're not talking here about graphics and things like that. I'm just basically showing you guys how to fly. But also another thing I want to show you guys about this, you can see right here I've got your VOR, DME, ILS frequency information listed right here as I go off the taxiway. Now I already know that I already know what our frequency is for our 09 left arrival in Atlanta, and so I'm going to type that in now just so I don't forget while we're mid-flight. So you get that all set up. You don't have to worry about taking care of it later. Oh man, this is going to be very glitchy until we're in the air, I guess, huh? That's alright. Again, this is just to give you guys an idea of how to set everything up. Once you have everything set up, you're not going to be recording, probably, so you're not going to have to worry about all this glitchiness. But so our frequency for the arrival, for the ILS arrival, is 110.50. I'm going to type that in up here. And then our course heading is 0904. So we're going to also type that in here as well. Man, it's the reason why I'm all over the place, guys, is because it's really glitchy. But hopefully that doesn't bother you guys too much. You get the general idea of what we're doing here. So I'm going to type in 0904 into our course heading. Now, when you're taxiing to the runways, when you're taxiing in general, you don't really want to exceed anything more than 20. Now I'm off the taxiway. That's cool. 0904. So there we go. That's typed in there. Now, another strange thing about the Quality Wing 757, which is what we're flying here, if you pull up the radio stack, you're going to see for whatever reason the frequency doesn't translate over into here. The heading does, but the frequency doesn't. So you're going to want to make sure that that is definitely on for you, or correct for you, so you don't have any problems. Yeah, I don't want the nav 2 thing going crazy. I don't know why that's illuminated like that, but...
Flight attendants, please be seated for departure.
That's another cool thing about this particular... Oh man, that's kinda... I don't know why that's on like that. The nav 2 indicator is on. I don't want that on. Alright, now it's off. No, it's not. It's like stuck on. Well, that's a pain in the neck. Alright, well, we're here anyways at the runway. Alright, so I'm actually going to pause the video right here. Well, let's line up with the runway first, and then I'm going to end up pausing the video. I have no idea why that nav 2 won't shut off. Kind of ridiculous. Alright, so we're lined up on the runway now, and just give me a second here. Okay, welcome back everybody. Sorry about that. Alright, so we're on the runway here. I managed to shut off that flight management, or the thing, the nav 2 radio was going off. So I'm going to turn off our taxi lights, going to turn on our landing lights, which you can do up there, or if you hit shift 2 and pull up the overhead, you can do it here as well. And we're all set to go. So we're on the runway. I'm going to go ahead and select our LNAV and our VNAV modes right now. Obviously we're in takeoff mode. But once we're airborne, we're going to be clicking on this left autopilot engage switch. Now, it's a little easier for me to do it if I'm all the way zoomed out. So the graphics won't be too great, but this is the button right here I'll be clicking. We've already got our LNAV and VNAV. If I zoom in again, this EPR switch is what I'm going to be clicking to give us our our throttle for our departure. So we are all set, ready to go. Disengage the parking brakes, and there we go. Guess I wasn't really as lined up as I thought. Remember, minor adjustments go a long way as far as when you're on the runway or even on a taxiway. Minor adjustments go a long way. So we're going to wait for our VREF speed to come up, which is 143. And we're good, so we can pull back on the yoke. And we are airborne, so gear up. Flaps down. And I'm actually going to utilize our heading selector knob. I don't know why it's not turning. Should be able to select right here. Alright, well, we can turn on our own too. Oh, maybe because I don't have my auto throttle on yet. Oh man. Or autopilot. Oh, that was dumb. I'm like, why the heck isn't this working? I don't have my autopilot on yet. Well, all we're doing right now is we're going to turn around and so that we're on an intercept heading. And our VNAV is turned on, so it's actually going to help us out with slowing the aircraft down. As you can see right now, it's correcting the speed down to below 250 knots. which under 10,000 feet, that's where we want to be. Once we're on an intercept heading for our first waypoint, then we can go ahead and click on LNAV, which will then line us up for our first waypoint. Just making a turn here. I'm sitting here like clicking on you click on this little selector knob in the middle, and that will change it'll change to heading select mode, which you can see up here. It says heading select on the primary flight display. Now, if at any time you need to zoom out, you can always do that. Now you can see it's a little easier to see. And we won't actually have to turn all the way to 214, that is. As long as we're on an intercept heading, which we are just about there now. So we can click on LNAV. Pull up our progress. So now we're heading straight to Lana. So the aircraft will now be maneuvering itself onto our direction of travel, and the autopilot is completely in control of the aircraft. So now I can take a chance
10,000.
Alright, we're at 10,000, so we can shut off our landing lights. It's a nice thing too about this plane is it has the call-outs for various altitudes and things of that nature.
Ladies and gentlemen, the use of approved portable electronic devices is now permitted.
Alright, so now you can see too, it's starting to increase our speed since we are over 10,000. And we're on our way to Atlanta. So yeah, I just want to show you guys kind of what the cockpit looks like here. Okay, as far as I can here. That's pretty much it. You got your LNAV and your VNAV. As long as you're on an intercept heading, you'll be okay. What I mean by that is this little triangle here is the direction of travel for your airplane. You can see we're making a turn now so that we can intercept this line, which is will put us in the correct direction to send us directly to our first waypoint. You can also pull up legs as well, and you can see each individual leg. But the progress will tell you roughly your ETA to get to each destination and or each waypoint, I should say, and how many nautical miles away you are. It'll also calculate fuel, but I just do default, full fuel. So that's pretty much it. I mean, it's not really much to it. We'll go over once we get closer to Atlanta. I'll go over how to use the localizer and the approach buttons, and what we're going to do to get ourselves into Atlanta. But for right now, it's just time to sit back and enjoy the flight. And you can see we're cruising up here, or we're climbing through like 13,600 right now, and since I typed in just straight up 36,000 feet on our autopilot altitude indicator, it will just bring us right up to 36,000 feet, which will level off at that point, and then we'll be at our cruising altitude and our cruising speed, which again, if you go into your VNAV menu and you toggle through the pages, this is our climbing speed, our altitude restriction, transition altitude. It even says what our cruising altitude is here as well. Cruising altitude 360, or 360, flight level 360, and then we adjusted the target speed to be at 0.84 knots, which will, or 0.84 Mach, that is. And that's about it. So you can watch your progress through here. And right now, this little information right here is where it's projecting that you'll reach your cruising altitude. It's not always correct, but it says that it says 2T/C, that's top of climb. So it says that in about 111 nautical miles we should be at flight level 360. It'll probably be a little bit more than that. And then once we pass the top of climb, it will actually reset this to top of descent, which you'll actually see on the display here If I show you, I'll zoom out as much as I can. Alright, get rid of all this other crap in the way. So if you see right here, it says TC. That's after we turn Atlanta. We'll turn and we'll be heading out on the Juliet 48 airway. Whoops. And our top of climb is estimated shortly afterwards, before we get to this EMI waypoint. So we should be leveled off at that point.
18,000.
18,000 feet. We can hit B to set our barometric pressure to standard 29.902. We'll bring this back down. Now you can also, this aircraft is designed with TCAS system. If you click on the TFC button right here, you can see it. TFC is now active. Now I turned off all of the traffic just for video purposes, but that will monitor traffic in the area, and it'll actually show up right here on your EFIS display. Now, you don't always have to keep that open like that. I just did it so you guys can see it a little bit better. Obviously, that's the location of those displays that I have up that I had up on the screen. And in this situation too, you can also click on the yoke. See, it says yoke. Click to lower or raise. Just click on this little spot right here, and it will move the yoke out of your way, so you can see this display here. And then in order to get that back into position, you can just hit that, and I'll put it back up. And that's pretty much it. This aircraft also comes with a custom set of views. Right first class window, left first class window, left overwing, right overwing, left mid cabin, right mid cabin, and left and right aft cabin, which is different than the customs. I'll go through them right now for you. So you can see the engine. This is the right first class, left first class, left overwing, right overwing. Goes through all of them. And that's pretty much it. So we're going to continue this climb until we get to 36,000 feet, which shouldn't be in too long a time. But you can see, obviously we've got our LNAV is set. L stands for linear, V stands for vertical. So the LNAV will automatically direct the plane. Once we cross over this Lana intersection, which we're coming up on right now, it will switch over to this PTW waypoint, and you'll see the aircraft will do an automatic turn to the left to line up with that PTW, Papa Tango Whiskey. This will give me a chance here to talk about VATSIM a little bit. I did mention at the very beginning of this video that I'm hopefully going to try to bring some VATSIM videos to you guys to show you kind of how that works. What VATSIM is, it's real-world air traffic control simulated. So what that means is, now in this, in the game itself, in Flight Simulator itself, you can see I just pulled up the air traffic control menu. That is an artificial intelligence air traffic control system. It's done. Now you can see the plane just switched. We just switched waypoints to the PTW, and now the airplane is automatically maneuvering itself on a direct path there. Now we're zoomed out to about 10 nautical miles. You can see the top of climb is going to actually show up probably well before we hit flight level 360. That's not really a big deal. Now, just going back to what I was just saying. VATSIM is a virtual air traffic simulation, and what that means is you can, if you if you download the appropriate software, which if a little poke around the internet, around Google or whatever, you'll find all this information. What I use, there's different programs you can use. I use one called Squawkbox. That's SQAWKBOX. So if you look up how to download Squawkbox, maybe I'll throw it in a link in the description of this video. And what the Squawkbox does is there's several air traffic controllers online, and they're monitoring the virtual airspace, and they cover basically all of your different simulation video games. Flight Simulator X, Flight Simulator 09, 09. I think they also cover FS04, 2004, and they also cover like X-Plane and things like that. So what happens is you literally use the radio stack, like this is the radio stack right here, right? And you use the actual one in the plane that you're flying on the simulator, and you log into Squawkbox, which up here under add-ons, you can see I've got Start Squawkbox right there. So that's part of, it's actually an add-on for the game. It's free to use, and there's also websites where you can see, like I use VRoute, which I mentioned at the top of this video. VRoute is a program that allows you to see what controllers are online right now and what coverage they have. So it's not like the real world where there's coverage from top to bottom at every airport and in every airspace. There's always somebody controlling the airspace, unless it's like over the ocean. Sometimes they'll have you switch. In real life, they'll have you switch to Unicom, which is 122.80, and the same thing. The same rules apply on VATSIM as well, where if you're not in a space that's controlled by an air traffic controller, and these are real life people that are basically hobbyists. Some of them are former or current air traffic controllers, and this is a way of training themselves. But what you do is they'll give you a frequency to tune into, and you just tune into that on your actual radio stack in your plane. They also give you squawk code and everything like that, which you would put into your transponder here. And they can actually pick you up on radar, just like a real air traffic controller, and they'll give you real directions. And that's why I was saying at the beginning of beginning of this episode as well that you need to know how to fly SIDS and stars. Now you can find the actual like paper copies of SIDS and stars for various airports. Again, by poking around online, you can find them, and they're actual physical like paper copies that you can either download, or if you're using like a second computer or something, or if you want to just print them out to have them on board with you. Those are good to have because they give you altitude restrictions, and like I mentioned before, those SIDS and stars are ways that are going to line you up with a specific arrival to the airport. Now, in real life too, the way it works is most airports have these SIDS and stars, these standard arrivals and standard departures. And what that does is it allows the controller to know that the pilot already knows what direction he needs to head in when he leaves and what direction he needs to be heading in when he arrives. Now, obviously, any other direction that an air traffic controller gives you is you need to follow those directions. So if they tell you to climb and maintain 10,000, then you would adjust that. Like we would probably have VNAV off, and we would just be adjusting the altitude according to what they tell us. Or if they tell you to fly a specific heading, then you're going to type in that heading on your autopilot controls here. And the same goes for speed. They can give you speed directions as well. And so basically that's, you'll have to fly all that. But if you have the FMC, which like you do in this particular plane, there is an FMC that is a functioning FMC, has all those SIDS and stars already typed into it. So, and this is where you can adjust. If they say, we want you to cross over the Hagen intersection at flight level 312, then you'll type in 312, and then you'll keep your VNAV on, and you'll also type in 312, 31,200 into your altitude selector, and your plane will try to get you to that point, you know, relatively close. That usually doesn't happen too much on your ascent, but it happens more on your descent into a specific city. They will give you directions on where to go. Now, I already knew ahead of time, based on the weather and things of that nature, that this particular flight, just because of the weather and the wind direction and everything, I already know that I'm going to be using runway 09 left, 09er left at Hartsfield Atlanta Airport. And so I already knew that ahead of time, so I already put in the star for our arrival. You can go back into arrival and you can see which one you selected. So what you can do is, mid-flight, you can adjust these stars. So, you know, I've already got the Falcon 3 star typed in here. You can see that's where it says it's active. Let's say we're coming into Atlanta and we're flying on VATSIM, and there is a controller on VATSIM controlling the Atlanta airspace. Now, you're gonna, you'd actually have to submit an IFR flight plan through Squawk Box or whatever program you're using. So they're gonna see what you have typed in there for your flight plan, and that's where, when we go to our legs, they're gonna know all of these things here. Actually, it's better off if we go to route, go to the next page. This is where, remember earlier, we typed in our route. They're gonna see that these are your waypoints, that you're gonna take the Juliet 48 jetway to MOL, directly to MOL, and you'll cross over every intersection on your way to MOL to keep you on Juliet 48. And then once you cross over MOL, you're going direct to ODF, and then your Falcon 3 via to Hespe and so on and so forth. And that continues all the way down the line until you get to Kim's. But let's say we're on our way in. We've already got our Falcon 3 arrival, or star, typed into the computer here and active. And they say, we actually want you to fly the Erlin 5 or the Canuck 7 arrival. You can go in here and you just select the Canuck 7 or the Erlin 5 or the Honey 5 or whatever one they give you, and and adjust it that way on your FMC. And then if they give you a different approach or whatever, you can always request a different approach. Most of the time on VATSIM, they're pretty good about giving you whatever approach you want to do. So if you'd rather do an ILS approach and they give you a visual approach, you can request it, just like in real life, you can request an ILS approach instead. And so there's different pages of all these stars. Now obviously larger airports are going to have a bunch of different SIDs and stars, but that's not always true. I mean, some smaller airports, only have one SID and one star. Especially airports that only have one runway going back and forth. There's usually only one standard departure and one standard arrival for each runway. So that's just something to keep in mind. So obviously, you'll have a better chance of using the different SIDs and stars if you're utilizing a full-blown, or a larger airport, one of the larger airports in the world. So that's pretty much it. We're just about at cruising altitude here. I'll let you hear what happens when you do reach cruising altitude. It's pretty cool, which is another cool part about the Quality Wings 757. It has all these, co-pilot call-outs and GPWS call-outs, and it also has some standard announcements that you would generally hear on an aircraft, either from the pilot or from the flight attendants. And that's all kind of automatically programmed in there based on what you do. I know that if you hit, once you go to flaps 10, it automatically triggers the flight attendants to say, to prepare for arrival, make sure you have your, tray table and seats in their upright positions and blah, 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 blah. So it's pretty cool. I have to say, I actually got this this add-on, the Quality Wings 757. I got it for my grandfather for Christmas. He wanted it. He's also a flight sim nut as well, like I am. And because you have multiple installations on the same disc, I actually stole it from him before I gave it to him. I installed it on my computer before I gave it to him, so we both have it now. But that's pretty much it. We're 200 feet away here from leveling off at cruising altitude. Now, obviously, if you wanted to get there faster, you can shut off your VNAV and you can use your vertical speed and, you know, adjust your speed according to how you want to get to, you know, how quickly you want to get to your cruising altitude. Because I had no restrictions and I wasn't utilizing any air traffic control, you know, commands, then I just put it on the VNAV and just say, you know, whatever, it'll get there. And you can see on my EFIS I already passed the top of climb. So top of climb is still on here, but once we level off, that will actually switch to top of descent, T/D, instead of
folks, just
it just did.
We've just leveled off at our cruising altitude. We're going to keep the seatbelt sign off just a few more minutes. As a reminder, even when the seatbelt sign is off, you should keep your seatbelts fastened at all times while seated. This is an event we hit some unexpected bumps along the way. Right now, all we ask is that you sit back, relax, and enjoy the fine in-flight service. Thank you.
So see, that's, you know, that's just a kind of a cool thing. So at this point, you can see, now that we've leveled off, the aircraft will now go into our cruise settings, which we have on our VNAV right here. We're on cruise mode now. So we're now going to be going 330 knots maximum and a maximum speed of 0.84 Mach. So you can see right here, it's going to start bumping our speed up to 0.84 Mach. So that's pretty much it. I'll go over, in the next video, I'll go over like this, the approach reference page here, which you can also find in the index right here under approach. Go to approach index, and it's going to give you what your VREF speeds will be for different flaps settings. So I usually do 30-degree flaps, and in this case, so far, based on our gross weight and our fuel and all that, it's going to give us 30/148. So our ground speed needs to be, or our airspeed needs to be 148 knots for our final approach. But we'll go over that in the next video. And all you do is, like, you select it, and it'll type it into here for you automatically, and then you select it into here, and then you would hit execute. But right now it's not going to do it because I'm too far away from our approach. So that's it. We're now cruising towards Atlanta from LaGuardia. The progress page will give you a rough estimation as how long it's going to take you to get there. You can see right now it's 1951 Zulu, and it's expecting us to be touching down in Atlanta at 2108 Zulu. So that's only, you know, this can be off a little bit, because see, the top of descent is actually 2041. Oh no, that's correct, 2109. Yeah, so we're about an hour away from Atlanta right now, 560 nautical miles. So that is correct, but that will automatically adjust based on your speed. So that's actually going to probably go down slightly during the flight. So that's going to do it for this video, and I'll start the next video at the top of our descent. So I hope you enjoyed, and thanks for joining me, and I'll see you later.